Good morning, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. So, in the last lecture, we had discussed about the contribution made towards the development of corporate governance by committees called as Cadbury Committee. Then, what was the contribution of OECD? Then, we had also discussed the contribution of Kumar Mangalam Birla report. Today, we will be starting with another important contribution which was made by Narayan Murthy Committee. So there were certain recommendations made by the Narayan Murthy Committee. Now, why all these committees are set up? Why every 2 years or 3 years or maybe 5 years a new committee is set up? So that also we had discussed initially in our initial sessions, that the reason for setting these committees, whenever the government comes to know that there are certain loopholes and there are certain organizations, there are certain people who are taking benefit of these loopholes and they are making profits because of these. And the second important thing why these committees are set up after a regular interval is the occurrence of fraud. We have been seeing that the number of frauds in organization, in stock market, or these related activities, the number of frauds is increasing. So, as and when a major fraud takes place, and when it is seen that because of this particular reason the fraud has taken place, so to suggest changes so that such kind of frauds are not repeated in future, the government or government related department, they set up committees. Now these committees, generally these committees are set up under the chairmanship of a industrialist or a professional, a senior manager who has worked as manager or in senior capacity in various organizations for a very good period, maybe more than 20 years, 30 years, or maybe more than that. Now, the reason why industrialists or senior managers are chosen to be part of these committees is that they are in a better position to understand the situation and they will be able to come up with strong recommendations which, if followed, will make the corporate governance better in the country. And that is the reason why industrialists or the professionals are chosen to be part of the committee. Now, one such committee was constituted under the chairmanship of Mr. N.R. Narayan Murthy. Now, that committee gave certain recommendations. What those recommendations were, that we will be discussing. So, the first recommendation given by Mr. Narayan Murthy committee was focused on strengthening the responsibility of the audit committee. We had discussed in the previous committees also, and the previous committees also discussed on the importance of proper functioning of audit committee. Here, the first recommendation given by Narayan Murthy was that the organization has to strengthen the responsibilities of the audit committee. Now, here they are purposely using the word responsibilities. Normally, what happens is whenever we go up in the hierarchy in an organization, we see that the hierarchy, with increase in hierarchy, there is increase in authority also. But we need to understand that authority comes with responsibility. So the first recommendation was that the senior officials of the financial department or the chairman and member of the audit committee, they should be more responsible towards what they are doing. They should be more focused of what? On what? On how the financial statements, how the balance sheets are prepared in the company, how they are verified, how they are counter checked, how they are presented before the board. All these things should be minutely focused by the audit committee, and that is their responsibility. The role, responsibility, authority, everything is laid down very clearly of the audit committee. But one of the reasons why the frauds are taking place is that the responsibility is not minutely focused or minutely followed. And that is the reason why the first recommendation given was that the audit committee has to be focused and it should lay more responsibility towards preparation of financial documents. So every organization has to see to it that authority and responsibility both are given clearly, transparently to the audit committee for its smooth functioning. The second one was improve the quality of financial disclosures. Now, improve the quality of financial disclosure means here we are not talking about that the financial statements are to be prepared on the glossy paper. They should be presented in a star-studded event, and that will be called as improve the quality of financial disclosure. That is not improving the quality of financial disclosure. Improving the quality of financial disclosure is the meaning here is that every company has to see to it how they can make the financial disclosure easily available to all the stakeholders of the company. That is known as improving the quality of financial disclosures. When the rule is that every 3 months, the financial figures of the company will be disclosed, it has to be followed. It should not happen that senior person in the finance department is on leave. And as the person is on leave, now the disclosure will be delayed by 15 days or maybe by 20 days. That is not proper disclosure. So that is the second recommendation was that improve the quality of financial disclosure. The next one is require corporate executive boards to assess and disclose business risks in the annual report of the companies. Very important. Earlier, what used to happen is that this point was not focused, and intentionally this was not focused at the board level. Now, why this was not focused? Because if we include the risk associated with the business or risk associated with a decision of diversification or risk associated with a decision of acquisition of or merger, then and if we include this risk in the report, and when the report is published and when the report is available in the common domain, where the all the shareholders, all the other stakeholders can easily go through the report. At that particular moment, it was thought by the company that if we include the risk associated, the shareholders or the investors, they will have a dilemma in the mind whether to invest in this company or not. Why? Because a risk is associated. How much risk is associated? How it is risky? And it was thought that if this dilemma is there in the mind of the investors, the company will not be able to attract good investment. Company will not be able to raise the capital which is required for acquisition, for diversification, or for expansion, or for other activities. And that was the reason why intentionally the companies were not highlighting or were not mentioning this particular risk associated with a particular decision. So this committee, they had a recommendation that if you are taking a risk, then you should mention it in the report that this is the risk we are taking, and this may these are the risks associated with a particular decision, with a particular plan, with a particular strategy, which we will be implementing in the coming future. So that was the third important recommendation. Now, the next recommendation was it introduce responsibilities on boards to adopt formal code of conduct. Code of conduct. I hope that everyone is aware of what is the meaning of code of conduct. In simple words, we can say following the rules and regulation laid down by the organization is known as code of conduct. Very simple. Whatever the rules and regulation of an organization is, if all the employees of the organization are following those rules and regulations, we can say that the code of conduct in the organization is followed by all the employees of the organization. That is the meaning of code of conduct. So every organization, maybe a small organization, medium organization, multi national organization, every organization has certain set of rules. And when we follow those rules, it is said that the code of conduct in the organization is followed. So what it says is responsibilities on board to adopt formal code of conduct. Not only the organization, here it is talking about the board. For example, if there is a rule that the board of directors will meet 4 times in 1 year. The meeting will take place quarterly in the month or after every 3 months. That is, suppose, the rule of the organization. Now, that is to be followed. Not only that is to be followed, the meeting should be well planned and well conducted. For example, the rule says that at least 7 days before the day of the meeting, all the directors of the board should be informed about the venue of the meeting, time of the meeting, agenda of the meeting, and they should be provided the relevant information related to the agenda point so that proper discussion can be made on those agenda point at the time of meeting. That is the rule. Now, this rule has to be followed. Then only we can say that there is code of conduct being followed in the board of directors meeting. It should not happen that one day before the director of the board is getting a call that tomorrow come to this place at this particular time we will have a meeting, and when the director is asking for agenda point, there is no such the secretary who is giving call to all the board of director, he informs the director there is no such formal agenda point. You come to the office tomorrow, we will gather and then we will discuss about something which is good for the organization. That means no proper planning. When it is not being properly planned, what will happen? The board meeting was supposed to start at 10 a.m. in the morning. Three directors, they come up by 10. Four directors, they come 2 hours late. One director is turning up in the afternoon. Three directors, they come in the evening. If such thing is taking place, we can say there is no code of conduct which is being followed by the board members. So code of conduct or rules and regulations are not just to be followed by the employees at the lower level or middle level in the organization. But code of conduct is to be followed at the highest level also. Then only we can expect effectiveness at the board level. Otherwise, there will be no effectiveness. Or meeting is engaged or meeting, the venue of the meeting of board of director is a 5-star hotel. And instead of discussing the agenda point, the members are discussing on the food or on the other aspects. Now, this particular thing, if happens in the board of directors meeting, we can say the board is not effective, And to avoid such things, because such things was taking place, they were taking place. To avoid such things at the highest level, this particular N.R. Narayan Murthy committee, they come up with an idea. Sorry, not idea, it's a recommendation which is to be followed. They came up with a recommendation that there has to be code of conduct which is being followed by the board of directors, which is the highest authority of the organization, right? So that is the importance of the code of conduct. The next one is improved disclosure relating to compensation paid to non-executive directors. So disclosure not only are related with the financial statements prepared by the organization, but here what they have given the recommendation is that disclosures relating to compensation paid to the non-executive directors also. Now, in the last session, we had discussed that executive directors are those directors who are involved in the day-to-day functioning of the organization, whereas the non-executive directors are those directors who are not involved in the day-to-day functioning of the organization. They are involved at the strategy making of the organization. So 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, whatever, whenever the board of director meets, they are supposed to be part of that meeting and they are supposed to be contributor to the decision. So they are not involved in day-to-day functioning of the organization. Now, for these non-executive director, how much fees is being paid, how much salary is being paid, how much incentives are being paid. All these things should be disclosed. It should not happen that company is disclosing only the financial statement of the organization, but it should also disclose that how much amount is being paid to the non-executive director overall, as well as the bifurcation. Everything is to be prepared and everything is to be shared. Now, why this was given? Again, there is, for every recommendation, whenever a committee is constituted or whenever the committee gives certain recommendation, for every recommendation, there is a valid reason that why this recommendation is given. And the reason behind giving this recommendation was that it was observed that although the non-executive directors are not directly involved in the day-to-day functioning of the organization, but what many organizations had started doing was that instead of paying the non-executive director the salary or the complete compensation which is mentioned in the law, many companies used to give them more than that, 5 times more, 10 times more, or many times more. And why the company was giving more to these non-executive directors? The reason was simple, that company wanted their signatures on the policies which was prepared by the executive management without any question. Now, for example, if the law says that they are to be paid, say, 20,000 rupees per meeting plus their travel charges, plus their staying charges, whatever it is. That is, suppose if it is the rule. So, what the company used to pay is that company used to pay them instead of 20,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees. If the rule is saying that looking at the financial health of the company, the stay of the directors will be arranged in a 3-star hotel because it's a medium company and again doing not very well. So to save the expenditure, company comes up with a rule that the stay of the directors when they are coming for a directors meeting, the stay will be arranged in a 3-star hotel. But instead of 3-star, the company is providing them stay in the 5-star hotel. Extra stay is provided so that and sightseeing is arranged for the directors. Now, why all such thing is being done? The company wants the non-executive directors that whenever the table papers are produced on the table, without any questioning, you need to sign against your name. Wherever your name is there, that Mr. So and so, and in bracket non-executive director for this particular company, just sign on the name on that particular place. Need not question. And when the directors are availing such facilities which is over and above law, what will happen? They will also not question and they will sign the document. So that should not happen. So whatever expenses the company is making on the total remuneration being provided to the non-executive director should also be disclosed. That this is what we are spending on the non-executive directors, so that everyone should come to know that instead of 20,000, the company has paid 1 lakh. When the company has paid 1 lakh, there is something fishy. So what that is to be checked. So to avoid such kind of practices, the committee has suggested that not only the financial aspect of the company, not only the financial statements of the company, but the remuneration, total remuneration that is being, which is being paid to the non-executive directors is also to be disclosed. Now, the next committee, those were the important contribution of the Narayan Murthy committee. Now we will move on to the next important committee, and that committee is called as J.J. Irani committee. Now, the J.J. Irani committee has come up with another recommendation. Every committee with which came up with different recommendation. Now again, J.J. Irani committee's recommendation that we will be discussing. So the first recommendation is no limit to the maximum number of directors in a company. This should be decided by the companies or by its article of association. Two important documents are prepared for the smooth functioning of the company. One is called as MOA or Memorandum of Association, and the other one is called as AOA or Article of Association. Memorandum of Association states that the company and its functioning, how it will function with the external clients or other companies. So the relationship of the company with other parties and particularly external parties is covered in the document called MOA or Memorandum of Association. Whereas the internal functioning of the company, the internal rules and regulation of the company is covered under the document which is called AOA or Article of Association. So Article of Association, the recommendation given by J.J. Irani committee, that no limit to the maximum number of directors in a company. This should be decided by the company or by its article of association. Article of association, we have just discussed that it is the internal rules and regulation, a document which is prepared for smooth internal rules and regulations execution by the company. That is article of association. So, how many directors will be appointed in the board of the company is to be included in the article of association. That 10 directors will be there, or 15 directors will be there, or 20 directors will be there in the board of a particular company. That is to be included, that is to be mentioned in the article of association of the particular company. That was the first. Now, the second one is there should be at least one director resident in India. So, resident in India means that one director has to be residing in India, so that whenever an emergency is there, one person should always be available for contact. Otherwise, what will happen? Suppose an emergency meeting is there, and for that emergency meeting, if none of the director is staying in India, it will be difficult for the organization to hold emergency meeting. So for that purpose, at least one director should be resident in India. Next is both the managing director and also the whole-time director should not be appointed for more than 5 years at a time. very important, both the managing director and as also the whole time directors. Now, whole time directors means full time directors. There are part time directors also, and there are full time directors also. So, full time directors are also called as a whole time director and the managing director of the organization. What it recommended was that they should not enjoy the directorship or the designation of managing director for the whole life or till they retire from the organization. Instead of that, it has to be it has to be 5 years, not more than 5 years at a time. At a time means that they are eligible for renomination, reappointment. So when they are appointed as a full-time director or whole-time director in the organization, or when the managing director of the organization is appointed, after every 5 years, he or she is eligible for a reappointment. But it should not be considered as a appointment till retirement. So a managing director is there, or there are three directors, whole-time director, who are doing their job efficiently, effectively. They are considered as the most productive officials in the organization, and the organization wants to continue their job. So the option available to the organization is, again, they have to renominate or reappoint these board of directors and managing director of the organization. If they are not performing, they should be removed. Very simple. Next is a minimum of 1/3 of the total strength of board of directors as independent directors. Now they have come up with an idea that 1/3 directors has to be independent directors. Now, independent directors, again, we had discussed that those directors who are not involved directly or indirectly with the day-to-day functioning of the organization are known as independent directors. How many independent directors should be there? They have included this. That 1/3 should be the independent directors. Next is detail of transactions of the company should be placed periodically before the board through the audit committee. Now, earlier, what used to happen is that periodically the transactions were not placed before the board. Which transactions? Here we are mainly concerned with the financial transactions. Now, periodically it should be placed before the committee is that if the rule is that after every month, after every 2 months, after every 3 months, whatever the rule of the organization is, that the financial statements, financial documents, financial figures will be shared with the board of directors. It has to be. That period is to be followed. It should not, the company should not wait that at the end of the year when the financial statements are prepared, only then those are to be shared with the organization, with the board of directors. So that should not happen. Periodical means a period has been finalized. Every 2 months, after every 3 months, after every 4 months, whatever period is finalized, whatever period is mentioned in the article of association of the organization, that this is the period, and before completion of this period, the financial statements, the financial transactions or the other important transaction, everything will be shared with the board of directors of the company. So that is known as periodical. That is, a particular period has been fixed. Next, the rights of minority shareholder should be protected during the general meeting of the company. Now, in unit number 3, when we will be talking about what are the rights of small shareholders. So, minority shareholders mean small shareholders. The shareholders which are holding the shares of a particular company in small numbers, they are called as minority shareholders or small shareholders. Now, these shareholders do have certain rights. Now, their rights have to be protected when in general meetings also. If they want to suggest something, they should be given a chance so that they can express their views, express their suggestions. Next is majority of the directors of the audit committee should be independent directors. Now, this is considered as very important or most important. It talks about majority of the directors of the audit committee should be independent directors. Audit committee, we had been discussing that when we will be talking about various committees, which are compulsory committees, which are also called as statutory committees. And there are certain committees which are non-statutory committees or non-compulsory, non-binding, not non-mandatory committees. At that time, we will be discussing about this issue also. So, the audit committee is considered as one of the most important committees, and that is a statutory, compulsory. Every organization is supposed to have this audit committee. So what it talks is that this audit committee should consist of majority of the independent directors. In simple words, we can say that the executive directors should be less and the independent directors should be more. For example, if 3 directors are there in the audit committee, the rule says that minimum 3 directors should be there in the audit committee. Now, if the rule is saying that minimum 3 directors should be part of the audit committee, then as per the recommendation of J.J. Irani committee, 2 should be the independent director and 1 can be the executive director. Now, why this was included? Again, to improve the structure of corporate governance in India. So audit committee has to pass the audit report of the organization. And it was assumed that if more are independent directors, 3 directors committee is there. Out of 3, 2 are independent directors. That means they are nowhere involved in the functioning of the organization. So when these people are there, these 2 people are there, so whichever policy they will sign, that will be accepted. Not the person who is a executive director, he will sign a particular document and that will be accepted because majority. So here majority means 2 minority directors, 2 independent directors. So to make the process more transparent, more clear, this recommendation was given by the J.J. Irani committee that majority of the directors in the audit committee should be independent directors. Because if 2 executive directors are there and executive directors are involved in the day-to-day functioning, they are also involved in, suppose, preparing of the financial statements. They are also aware that there are certain irregularities there in the preparation of the financial statement. The company is not earning the profit which is being shown in the financial statements. But why it is shown? Because the company wants to raise capital with the help from the stock market. They want to build an image in the eyes of the shareholders that this is a company which is earning a very good profit. And for that particular reason, these two executive directors, if two are executive and only one is independent, then if both have signed the document, then as the power of independent director is very less, then the rule will be the financial statements will be approved. To avoid such type of practices, the committee has suggested that it has to be that majority should be of independent director and not of the executive director. So that was the contribution of the J.J. Irani committee in the development of corporate governance in India. Now we will move on to the next part, and the next part is the model of corporate governance. Here we will be discussing 2-3 models. We will be discussing the Anglo-American model, English-American model is it is also known as. Then we will be talking about the Japanese model, and then we will be talking about the Indian model of corporate governance. So the what is the difference between these three models that we will be discussing in the coming sessions. So we will start with the first one, that is the American model of corporate governance. So before we move on to this particular point, the committees so far, 5-6 committees we have discussed about and their recommendations we have discussed. If anyone is having any doubt, please you can unmute yourself and you can ask your doubt. If you have any doubt, please go ahead. Otherwise, we will move on to the next part, and the next part is the model of corporate governance, various models
Sir,
of corporate governance. Yes,
sir, can you explain the meaning of independent directors again, please?
independent directors are very simple. Those directors who are not involved in the day-to-day functioning of the organizations. Those directors are called as independent. The name itself says independent means they are not dependent on the organization. Now, when they are not dependent on the organization, why they are included on the board of directors? If this question comes in, that they are part of the board because of their experience, because of their talent, because of their previous track record, and because of their skills, because of their knowledge. Now, earlier, what used to happen is the organization was to decide about who will be the person who will be included in the board of directors. So the person who is the managing director or who is the owner of the organization, he used to decide that this is my organization. I will decide if 10 directors are to be appointed in my board, who 10 will be. One will be my son, the other one will be my daughter, the third one will be my wife, the fourth one will be my friend, fifth one will be my say relative, the sixth one will be my brother. So this used to happen earlier. To avoid this practice, the government has come up with these recommendations. Various committees have been there and they have given their recommendation that if all are related with each other, what will happen? We cannot expect transparency because owner and owner's relative are part of the board of directors. So whatever decision the owner will make, the relatives will automatically, without any questioning, they will sign. And that is the reason why independent director clause has been added. That a person should be part of the board. That the person doesn't have any say in the day-to-day functioning of the organization. He is not holding the stock of the company. He is not directly or indirectly involved in the affairs of the company. So he is in a position to independently come up with a particular decision. And that is the meaning of independent director, who is not dependent on the organization. And why every organization has to have independent directors. And those directors, suppose the organization is a automobile manufacturing organization. Now, for example, Maruti is there. Now, for Maruti, there has to be some independent directors. Now, who are eligible to be appointed as independent director in the board of Maruti? So those people who have expertise in the field of automobile, only those persons are eligible. A person who is very good in, say, other field, that person is not eligible to be appointed as independent director. Now, these independent directors are included on the board so that they can share their intelligence, they can share their skills, they can share their expertise, they can share their skills, knowledge for the benefit of the organization. That is the reason why independent director. Earlier, that was not there, but now it is compulsory that every organization shall appoint certain number of independent directors. 3 directors, 4 directors, 5 directors, it depends. And these directors are independent directors. And all now, just now we have discussed in JJ Irani committee report that audit committee, how a audit committee should be there. So more independent director and less executive director means, why this? To promote transparency. Executive director may overlook some errors. Why? Because he want to project the organization as a brand in front of shareholders, in front of investors, because he knows that if these errors are highlighted, automatically investors will resist to invest in the company. But that is not the case with the independent director. He doesn't have any stake in the company, so he is not bothered about the profit or loss of the company, whether the companies will be getting more investment or not. He is not bothered. Why? He is bothered about what? He is bothered about that whatever his role has been assigned as per law, he has to perform. Even if the company is going for closure, if he didn't overlook that error, if he highlights that error, that will be a huge loss for the company. Still, he or she who is working as an independent director, they will highlight that error. Why? Because it is their duty, it is their responsibility. And they do not have any stake. The organization band bhi ho gayi, to they are not going to be affected. So that is the role. Right? I hope that you have understood the meaning of independent directors.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, beta. Thank you. What's the time now?
7:55.
7:55. Okay, okay. So we will not be able to complete this. We will just start and then we will wind up the session. Tomorrow, we will try to complete it. Complete all the 3. The Japanese model of corporate governance, the Indian model of corporate governance, and the now we will start with the Anglo American model of corporate governance, which consists of the board of directors, then their appointment and control, their accountability, office managers are there, then leadership of internal control, of operating activities, then company, then reporting, then under that reporting also stakeholders, all the stakeholders, which includes employees, suppliers, creditors, communities, government. All these people are called as stakeholders. So it starts with what? It starts with the stakeholders. Stakeholders are called as the owners, or they are called as the part owners of the organization. Now, with the help of elections, the board of director is constituted. Now, how this system is different from the system which we are practicing, that we will come to know in the next session, when we will complete the discussion of all these three models of corporate governance. In our country, we are having many large family oriented or family controlled businesses. If we take the example of, say, Adani Group, Ambani Group, or various other companies are there, where we can say that these are the companies which are uh, a family controlled business. Family controlled business means where more stake is with the company. More than 50%, 51% or 60% shares are holded by the family itself. But if we talk about the developed countries, if we talk about Japan, if we talk about the American model, if we talk about the English model, there this practice is discouraged, and more is public oriented. Public oriented means where the family is having less stake and the other stakeholders are having more stake. Then what will happen? Why this type is more successful there? And the reason is very simple, that the managing director, suppose if one family is there and that family is holding more than 50%, more than 51%, more than 60% stake in the company. So whenever important announcements or appointments are to be made, what will happen? More authority this particular party is having than the other stakeholders. The other stakeholders suggest one name which is overruled by the first party. Why? Because they are enjoying more stakes. They are enjoying, they are the more than 50% stakeholder in the organization. So whatever they will decide, that needs to be accepted. So that is that is being practiced in our country, and slowly we are moving out of it. And even if we are not moving out of it willingly, slowly the government has started intervening, or the government has started accepting or implementing the recommendation of these committees. That if these committees' recommendations are accepted, then slowly we are trying to come up with a new structure. Just now we had discussed that even if it is a family owned business, still, if audit committee is to be formed, what will be the structure of the audit committee? The family is enjoying, say, 70% stake in the organization. But whenever the audit committee is to be formed, at that time, they cannot have a say that no, as we are enjoying more stake in the organization, so instead of two, what we will do is two will be part of the executive directors and one only will be included as the independent director. So that is not possible. So from the government also, with the help of the recommendation of various committees, the government is also trying to make things correct in the country. That even if the family owned businesses are there, the important committees should be consisting of independent directors for the smooth function. So that is the initiative taken up by various committees and the government of India, that how the corporate governance can be made more transparent and more defect. So in detail, we will be discussing this Anglo-American, then we will be talking about the Japanese model of corporate governance, and we will be talking also about the German model of corporate governance. And finally, we will be talking about the Indian model of corporate governance. So in tomorrow's session, we will discuss about these four, and then we will be talking about the various theories of corporate governance. And that will be the end of unit 1. Initially in the first session also, we had discussed that after the end of unit 1, in unit number 5, we have certain cases to be discussed in the class. So what we will do is immediately, as now after the end of first unit, you will be able to understand what is corporate governance and how corporate governance plays an important role in avoiding the frauds, in smooth functioning of the organization. So at the end of this first unit, you will come to know about all these things. So next, instead of starting the second unit, we will first start with the unit number 5. So cases we need to discuss. So come prepared about the cases also. Start preparing about the cases. Very known cases, very famous cases. The information related to all these cases is very easily available in YouTube. On YouTube, or in Google also. You can do the just Google it, Kingfisher Airlines, or the Videocon case, or the dispute between the Cyrus Mistry and Tata Group. The important cases which are mentioned in the syllabus, we will be taking up for discussion, and then we will start with our unit number 2. So come start preparing for the cases. Cases can be understood in a better manner through discussion only, right? So come prepared. Thank you everyone.